You're listening to the Accenture Insurance Influencers Podcast.
Hello, I'm your host, Igrani Yu, and I'm speaking with Ryan Stein.
My name is Ryan Stein. I'm the Executive Director of Auto Insurance Policy and Innovation at Insurance Bureau of Canada.
Hi, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
In our last episode, you explained why Insurance Bureau of Canada recommends a single insurance policy covering both human drivers and automated vehicles. I wanted to switch tacks now to talk about the actual adoption of automated vehicles. I think that if you look at the statistics, automated vehicles are overwhelmingly safer than human drivers. And at the same time, as a human, I think that I feel, and maybe other people also feel really uncomfortable with this idea of a robot driving a vehicle. So, to what extent do you think there will be challenges in automated vehicles actually being adopted? Or will we finally become rational and say, oh, this is much safer, I should definitely do this, and then, I don't know, play Candy Crush on my way to work?
We did some survey, and some people, generally, if you looked at the overall population, most people said they were not interested in driving an automated vehicle. But if you looked at people aged 18 to 34, most of them were. And overall, most people perceive these vehicles to be safer. You do hear of people being hesitant to use this technology. I think overall the potential for automated vehicles is huge, and they will eventually become the majority of new vehicle sales. I don't know how many tens of years that'll take, but no doubt automated vehicles are coming, and they're going to be on our roads. That's why it's so important to make sure that the auto insurance laws are updated so that insurance companies can offer the type of coverage that's appropriate for these vehicles. And we think that the single policy, will provide coverage regardless of whether the human or the technology caused the collision is the way to go, and is the most appropriate way of achieving what we think is an important public policy goal of auto insurance legislation and regulation, which is making sure that people who are injured get access to fair and quick compensation.
I imagine that's particularly challenging in North America, where there's kind of a patchwork of provincial or state laws governing, auto insurance to begin with, and automated vehicles in particular. So, to what extent is a national strategy important as far as legislation and regulation in this area?
In this area for insurance, if you can get all the provinces to update their insurance laws at the same time, that would be fantastic. That would mean all Canadians, when they go and use or buy automated vehicles, will be able to get appropriate insurance. But insurance is, like you said, it's done at the provincial or state level. While it would be great if this could all happen at once at the national level, that's just not how insurance tends to work. It's usually, one province makes a change, sort of like what happened with the sharing economy. It was Ontario and Alberta that did it first. They updated their laws to accommodate ride sharing. It would have been great if every province did it at the same time, but that just didn't happen. And for automated vehicles, it could be the same thing. If a couple of provinces are ready to update their laws to reflect vehicle automation, they should move. And then when the others are ready, they can do the same.
Right. And to what extent should insurers be playing a more proactive role? Should they be guiding this public policy and informing the regulation and having a seat at that table as these laws are made?
I believe the insurance industry has been quite proactive. So this got on IBC's radar. It was the member companies that said, we got to look at this issue, like what we did with the sharing economy. And then, that led to developing, the single policy idea and the different features that support it, the data sharing arrangement and all that, and which led to the paper that we released last year. The industry has presented on the ideas in this paper to government regulator audiences across the country, and has made it clear to the various governments that, we want to work with you on this. And the response from the provinces or the ones that we've met with has been quite positive.
That's great. IBC obviously is focused on the Canadian market, but we are not the only country to be grappling with the issue of automated vehicles. So, what general principles should regulators, insurers, and governments keep in mind as they do look to update laws to accommodate automated vehicles?
I think the number one, and it's the one that we really focused on, is, auto insurance is regulated, and, what is the reason for regulating insurance? And, when it comes down to auto insurance policies or coverage, which is what we're talking about in this paper, It's really about making sure that people who are injured have access to quick and fair compensation. And so when we were working with our members and looking at how automated vehicles would work in the existing auto insurance legislation and regulation, we saw a risk of people not being able to get fair and quick compensation, of people being stuck in costly and protracted product liability litigation. So once we kind of identified that, it's important that people have access to fair and quick compensation, it was, how do we update the insurance laws to make that happen? Once you've decided that you want fair and quick compensation, you then have to look at, okay, what type of model will work in a situation where conventional vehicles and automated vehicles will be sharing the road, because you need the insurance solution to work for both. And that's what the single insurance policy allows. It allows making sure that people have access to fair and quick compensation, and it also can coexist with the existing auto insurance policies for conventional vehicles.
I see. So automated vehicles or autonomous vehicles are an example of many technologies that are coming up the pipe where the development is outpacing the regulatory environment. What can insurers do in those cases to make sure that they are on top of things, but that they're also not investing in something that might just be hype and not reality?
From a public policy perspective, really it's engaging the government, engaging the regulators, talking about these issues, and really talking to them about the importance of studying the insurance laws and regulations and making sure that they're appropriate. So, companies and through IBC, we're trying to make that happen, but companies can do that individually too, is bring these issues to the governments and the regulators and talk about them, talk about their importance. And, we've spent a lot of time talking about the single insurance policy and the data sharing piece. But what's most important, I think, or I know, is for it's less about those two solutions that we've put out. It's more about governments and regulators looking at this issue, examining the insurance laws to make sure that they're appropriate in a world where vehicles are automated. We think that the solution that we've put on the table is a real good one. But before even getting there, we want to be having these discussions in detail with the governments, looking at the insurance laws. And if a better solution comes out of it, we're all ears on that. But really, we want to be having that discussion where we have the insurance industry, the provincial governments, and the regulators looking at the insurance laws and making sure they're appropriate in an automated vehicle world.
Great, and probably a good policy to be having as we look at other innovations that are coming into our society as well. This has been a really interesting conversation, Ryan. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens as a result. And people can download your paper off the website. Is that correct?
They can.
Okay.
www.ibc.ca.
Perfect. And thank you very much for making the time to speak to us. This was a really interesting conversation.
It was my pleasure.
This wraps up my conversation with Ryan Stein from Insurance Bureau of Canada. We've been talking about autonomous vehicles and their implications for the insurance industry. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast and you'll get updates as we release new episodes. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Accenture Insurance Influencers podcast with your host, Agrani Yu. To find more great episodes, visit accenture.com/insurance influencers.